The world of giant mammals was, for you, guaranteed to be deadlier than the age of the tyrannosaur. This assertion is counterintuitive. After all, our distant mammalian relatives lived there. Their world should have been more comprehensible and its threats more predictable. This is a grave mistake. Paleogene predators, such as the Hyaenodon, played by different rules. Their jaws were designed not for tearing flesh, but for crushing bones, a biomechanical press that transformed any victim into easily digestible pulp. This is the first rule of the New World here. There is no chance of mere injury, only instant annihilation. But this is just one rule. It doesn't explain why you wouldn't survive. There is a reason why this world would have been statistically more lethal for humans than the world of dinosaurs, where we weren't even part of the food chain. And this reason shatters all contemporary notions of survival. There is also a second paradox. We will show how the largest land mammal in Earth's history, the Indricotherium, posed a more inescapable threat to your survival than a predator that would actively hunt you. The answer to this question will redefine your understanding of threat. By the end of this analysis, you will receive 7 keys to this forgotten world. We won't just list monsters. We will crack the Paleogene survival code to prove why it offers no chance for modern humans. The first threat that will kill you is invisible. It enters you with every breath. At first glance, the reason seems simple. Paleoclimatic data shows a different atmospheric composition, more carbon dioxide, less oxygen, and higher temperatures. This means rapid fatigue, shortness of breath, and heat stroke. It might seem like merely a matter of acclimatization, but the reality is far more insidious. The issue isn't just the gases, but the biological content of the air. It was saturated with unfamiliar spores and microorganisms to which you have no immunity. Your body in this world is like skin that has received an invisible splinter. Your immune system throws all its strength into fighting thousands of microscopic fragments, draining you from within. This internal war is just preparation for a complete breakdown of your understanding of scale. In a world without a single factory, the greenhouse effect was even stronger. What fueled this global furnace? High volcanic activity and methane emissions maintain CO2 levels at 1,500 parts per million. This is 4 times higher than pre-industrial norms, which transformed the planet into a single humid greenhouse. Macro-level stability, however, translated to micro-level extremes. Constant torrential rains and sudden floods made creating shelter impossible. Any lowland became a death trap. This environment was an ideal incubator for bacteria. Any scratch meant almost guaranteed infection. You'd think you're fighting the weather, but in reality, you are merely weakening yourself before encountering something that resembles a moving mountain. Let's imagine your first hour. You are here. A primeval forest surrounds you, but your head aches and your lungs burn. You act rationally, seeking water, trying to orient yourself, attributing your malaise to stress. You attempt to quench your thirst. The water, crystal clear in appearance, causes a wave of nausea. A realization dawns. This isn't fatigue. It's an acute immune system reaction to alien microorganisms. Your modern body perceives this world as poison. Within just 2 hours, your resting heart rate would have skyrocketed to 120 beats per minute. You haven't met a single beast, but you are already losing the war against the planet itself. And in this moment of weakness, you notice movement in the distance resembling a slowly advancing hill. The Paleogene environment itself is hostile. How does this alter the rules of engagement with its inhabitants? Let's summarize your debilitations. Your body is exhausted from fighting pathogens. Your brain suffers from mild hypoxia, causing disorientation. Your immune system is overloaded. You are no longer functioning at 100%. What will happen if, precisely in this state, you encounter something that shatters your very understanding of biological scale? The threat won't be physical, it will be psychological. You think you know what a big animal is, an elephant, a whale. What you will witness is not an animal as you understand it. It is a moving element of the landscape, next to which an elephant seems like a domestic pet. You watch as this mountain begins to move in your direction. How can a herbivore that doesn't even see you be the primary cause of your death? The paradox is that a lack of intent to kill does not preclude a lethal outcome. The illusion of safety crumbles as it approaches. It stands 5.5 meters tall at the shoulder, weighs 20 tons, the mass of 3 African elephants. Its head is at the level of a 3rd-story window, and its shadow, blankets an entire clearing. To it you are neither prey nor a threat. You are an ant, accidentally crushed during its feeding. Its footprint is a crater half a meter deep. This is not the malice of a predator. It is the absolute indifference of nature, and that is far more terrifying. The existence of such a giant is explained by its slow metabolism and daily need for tons of low-calorie food. But it wasn't merely a giant lawnmower, it was an ecosystem engineer. By browsing the treetops, it created clearings. Its migrations, akin to the movement of a glacier, carved wide paths, fundamentally altering the landscape. Survival instinct dictates you stay far away from it, yet its trails are the only discernible roads through this dense forest. And these roads are used by everyone, including predators, for whom the Indricotherium is a walking feast. You are forced to follow in its footsteps, and there, you are already awaited. This is not merely a physical threat, it is psychological collapse. The ground beneath your feet begins to vibrate 10 seconds before you even hear its footsteps, creating an earthquake effect from a single creature. Then its shadow engulfs you, plunging you into a twilight gloom. At this moment, anthropocentrism shatters. All human culture is built on the premise that humanity is the measure of all things. Here, you realize you are a statistical anomaly. It is living proof of your utter insignificance. And if this is a herbivore, your mind refuses to imagine the predators capable of hunting it. Your survival strategy shifts dramatically. The old directive, "don't be eaten," gives way to a new one, "don't be crushed." This forces you to avoid open spaces and seek shelter in rock formations, caves, and dense thickets. But these places are already occupied. They serve as lairs for those who represent an active, targeted threat. Fleeing the indifferent force of nature, you drive yourself directly into the clutches of a hungry predator. You just feared something that didn't even notice you. Now you will encounter something that sees only you. A predator's effectiveness is measured not by its size, but by its biomechanics. And here, the Hyaenodon surpasses many dinosaurs. Forget about hyenas. This is an entirely different evolutionary branch, a killing machine with massive shoulders and a head that constitutes a third of its body length. Its jaws are not a knife, they are an industrial press. Biomechanical modeling shows they were designed not for tearing flesh, but for crushing bones with monstrous force. Its carnassials, self-sharpening molars, functioned like a powerful crusher, capable of severing an 8-centimeter thick bone in a single motion. Its weapon never dulled. But this perfect killing mechanism on land was not the only one. From your rock shelter, you observe a Hyaenodon pursuing a Chalicothere. You anticipate a long chase, a struggle, but there will be none. A short, explosive lunge. One bite, and you hear a deafening crack. The victim's hind leg is broken. The hunt is over. But the most terrifying part begins next. The predator does not eat soft tissue. It approaches the rib cage and begins to crack it open like a tin can to reach the bone marrow. The crunch of bones is audible for hundreds of meters. In that moment, you look at your own hands, your own rib cage, and understand to these jaws, your skeleton is no more than a dry twig. You sought protection from a terrestrial threat, but you failed to notice death had spread its wings. Your intellect is useless. You try to mask your scent, but the Hyaenodon's skull structure indicates an olfactory sense hundreds of times superior to a dog's. You try to hide, but its auditory ossicles detect the low-frequency vibrations of your heartbeat through the ground. You try to run, but it is faster and more enduring. And it is not alone. Findings of multiple individuals together suggest they may have hunted in packs, like wolves, driving prey into tactical traps. Your detection is only a matter of time. It will find you by a trail left a day ago. This threat seems absolute, but evolution also created an entirely different type of killer. Now your psyche is entirely focused on the horizontal plane. The ground is a minefield. Every rustle in the bushes, every crack of a branch, a signal of mortal danger. All your attention is fixed on what is happening around you. And this is an evolutionary trap. While you look around, the fastest, most sudden, and most precise death arrives from where you aren't even looking. Fleeing the Hyaenodon, you run into an open space thinking that here you can see everything. You just encountered a bone-crushing engine. Now you will meet a predator that has transformed its beak into a battle axe, and its sole target is your skull. A flightless bird became one of the most effective predators, occupying a terrestrial niche. This is Phorusrhacos, the terror bird. Standing up to 2.5 meters tall, its powerful legs allowed it to develop cheetah-like speeds. It seems its weapons were claws and speed, but its main asset was different. Its enormous hooked beak was not a tearing tool. It was a solid bone structure fused with its skull, the head of a battle axe. Biomechanics show it did not tear or bite. It delivered a single, precise, downward chopping strike, using its entire body mass to fracture the victim's skull. This weapon was ideally suited for hunting creatures of your height. You cross a plain, believing you are safe in the open. You see threats from afar, but in your peripheral vision, movement appears. Something incredibly fast, unlike the heavy attack of a Hyaenodon. Your brain refuses to perceive a bird as a threat. It doesn't run straight at you. It closes in with rapid zigzags, changing direction at speeds up to 50 kilometers per hour. This is a disorientation tactic designed to make you lose sight of it for a split second. And in that split second, it strikes. You instinctively fall, and the axe-like beak strikes the ground with a deafening crack right next to your head, kicking up clumps of earth. You just escaped a one-hit attempt on your life. Have you ever experienced fear of something that moves faster than your reaction? Why did evolution choose such a highly specialized method of killing? Phorusrhacos hunted medium-sized mammals, which were too swift for Hyaenodons. Its goal was not a struggle, but instant neutralization of the nervous system, to turn off the victim's computer. Hyaenodons needed jaws for skeletal destruction. Saber-toothed cats had fangs for strangulation. Phorusrhacos chose the most energy-efficient method, one precise strike to the most vulnerable spot. And you, with your upright posture, slow reactions, and large head on a thin neck, you are an ideal target. For its beak, your skull would be no stronger than a coconut. Its attack worked like a key precisely hitting a keyhole. One strike would disable the entire system. But even if you avoid all predators, what you yourself put into your mouth will kill you. You have learned to look around. You have learned to look up. Constant stress and flight burn calories relentlessly. Hunger becomes your primary enemy, pushing you to take risks. Instinct tells you to seek plant food. Hunting animals is suicide, so foraging seems the only logical option. But in this world, nothing is familiar. Not a single edible plant you recognize. Attempting to determine edibility by sight is a game of Russian roulette. This attempt to satisfy your hunger will lead you to a slow and agonizing death in the Paleogene's poisonous garden. You escape swift jaws and a sharp beak, but a quiet, motionless leaf will kill you. The world around you is awash in green, yet you are starving. This is the fifth paradox of the Paleogene, abundance that is not food. At first glance, the problem seems to be identification. No leaf, no fruit resembles any familiar counterpart. There are no reference points. But this is a false hope. The true problem lies not in knowledge, but in biochemistry. The flora of this world is saturated with alkaloids for which your body has no enzymes. Your digestive system is a sieve, calibrated for familiar grains. The plants of the Paleogene are like sharp stones that will not pass through it, but break it. Any attempt to satisfy hunger is a game of Russian roulette, where a single eaten leaf might not cause death, but slow paralysis, transforming you into living, helpless bait. Despair pushes you to act. You find something resembling an earthly fruit in shape and color. You employ all your known survival rules. You examine it, smell it, apply a cut piece to your skin. No reaction, no bitterness. You eat a tiny piece, awaiting a danger signal, but there is none. You mistakenly believe your knowledge works. 3 hours later, the world begins to swim. The edges of objects blur, and the sound of your own breathing in your ears becomes louder than a distant roar. This is not poisoning. It is a slow shutdown of your nervous system. You are not dying, you are becoming incapacitated. And in this moment comes a terrifying epiphany. You are not killed by a mistake, but by your confidence that the rules of this world obeyed you. Why could an Indricotherium consume tons of this vegetation while every single leaf is poisonous to you? The answer: coevolution. For millions of years, local animals and plants engaged in a biochemical arms race. The digestive systems of herbivores developed enzymes, the perfect key to unlock the poisonous defenses of the local flora. Your gastrointestinal tract is a product of evolution alongside wheat and apples. You lack both the necessary enzymes and symbiotic bacteria. This is a double trap. You either die from poisoning or you fill your stomach with useless biomass and die from starvation. A choice without a choice. While your body struggled against poison and hunger, the real battle was unfolding in your mind. And it was already lost. Your body is weakened. Your mind is poisoned. Let's summarize. 4 horsemen of the Paleogene apocalypse have descended upon you: a hostile climate, crushing giants, super-efficient predators, and a poisonous garden. But what is more terrifying, a comprehensible death from the fangs of a Hyaenodon, or the slow disintegration of your personality in a world where your intellect is useless? The physical body is capable of enduring incredible privations, but the human mind, evolved to seek patterns, shatters when the world transforms into chaos, where every meaningful action leads to demise. The next threat was not born externally. It came from within. The most perfect analytical tool in the universe, the human brain, here transforms into the greatest threat to its owner. This is the 6th key to the Paleogene, the psychological limit. On the surface, the reason is sensory overload. Every unfamiliar sound, every strange smell, a potential threat. You are forced to simultaneously scan the ground for Hyaenodons and the sky for Phorusrhacos. But this is not just stress. It is rapid cognitive burnout. Your prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational decisions, cannot operate in an endless fight-or-flight mode. Rational thought is a candle flame. A continuous wind of threats doesn't merely make it flicker, it extinguishes it, leaving only the heat of primal panic. In this world, there is not a single safe haven, and the realization of this fact leads to learned helplessness. Your brain stops trying. It becomes a generator of false threats. You find temporary shelter in a rock crevice. Your body is exhausted, but you are in relative safety. An illusion of control, but your brain is already working against you. Due to stress and hunger, hallucinations begin. A quiet rustle of leaves transforms into the grinding teeth of a Hyaenodon. The sound is so real that you smell decaying meat from its maw. The shadow of a cloud appears to be a diving Phorusrhacos. Your alert system is broken, sounding false alarms. Unable to bear the tension of a phantom threat, you make a fatal mistake. In a panic, you rush out of your hiding place into the open, and at that very moment, you encounter a real predator. Your mind has betrayed you. Has fear ever driven you to commit irrational acts? Multiply that feeling by 1,000. Where does this certainty about psychological breakdown stem from? We see its analogs today. Expedition madness in polar explorers. Combat post-traumatic stress disorder in soldiers. Isolation and constant threat can shatter even the most resilient psyche. But there is a key difference. You have no team, no communication, no hope of rescue. This is absolute existential loneliness in the face of chaos. Modern research shows that just 72 hours of complete sensory isolation can induce severe hallucinations in most people. The human psyche is a social tool, evolved to solve problems within a group. Alone against primal horror, it is unsustainable. This is a systemic failure, inherent in our very nature. So, what is the cumulative effect of all these threats? Let's summarize. A body weakened by climate and poisonous food. A shattered perception of the world's scale. A constant threat from super-efficient predators. And a broken, unreliable mind. But these factors do not merely add up, they multiply. Can we remove emotions and calculate the objective chances of survival in such a system? What would the cold, impartial logic of numbers say? Survival is not a question of willpower. It is a matter of probability theory. We will perform a final, ruthless calculation to see why your demise in this world is not a tragic accident but a mathematical inevitability. In 60 seconds, you will see the formula for your defeat. The 7th key to the Paleogene is not a weapon or a strategy. It is an equation. Your chance to survive is a product of probabilities. The chance to avoid hypoxia, multiplied by the chance to find clean water, multiplied by the chance not to be crushed by an Indricotherium, not to be eaten by a Hyaenodon, not to be killed by a Phorusrhacos. Even if each of these chances were an optimistic 80%, after just 5 such trials, your final probability of survival would be only 32%. But in the Paleogene, your chance in each individual check is not 80, but rather 10%. The formula relentlessly zeroes out your result with each passing hour. And the most ironic thing is that the final blow will not be delivered by a giant monster. It will be delivered by the most imperceptible enemy. Mathematics is ruthless, but its execution is devoid of drama. Here is what your end looks like. You survived. You avoided the Hyaenodon, dodged the Phorusrhacos, and weren't crushed. You feel a false victory, but accumulated fatigue and psychological exhaustion lead to a micro-mistake. You stumble on flat ground and get a deep scratch from a sharp stone. In our world, a minor annoyance. In the Paleogene world, teeming with unknown pathogens, this is a death sentence. Blood poisoning develops within 18 hours. You were killed not by a giant bird, but by a microscopic bacterium. This is how probability works. Sooner or later, one of hundreds of threats will work against you. You were killed not by weakness, but by a lack of evolutionary specialization. Why, then, did the animal world thrive in these conditions? The answer: narrow specialization. Each creature was honed for its specific niche. The Hyaenodon's jaws were a biomechanical bone-crushing machine with a bite force exceeding 1,000 kilograms per square centimeter. The Phorusrhacos' beak was a battle axe designed for fracturing skulls. They were professionals. Your specialization is collective intelligence, the ability to create tools, utilize fire, and transmit knowledge. But all of this requires a group, time, and a stable environment. Alone, you are a generalist in a world of narrow specialists. You lose to the Hyaenodon in strength, to the Phorusrhacos in speed, and to the Indricotherium in mass. You have lost this battle for individual survival. The verdict has been rendered. 7 locked doors of the Paleogene: climate, scale, predators, birds, flora, mind, and mathematics. Every key we found only confirmed that survival was impossible. But this complete vulnerability is the main paradox. If we are so fragile and unadapted, how did our species manage to conquer the planet? We lost the battle for survival in the Paleogene, but we won the evolutionary war. Next, we will piece together all parts of this puzzle to understand why our weakness proved to be our greatest strength. Until now, we've analyzed the Paleogene arsenal piece by piece. But its true power lies in synergy. It is not a collection of individual threats, but a self-sustaining system of annihilation. A hostile climate and poisonous flora don't merely create difficulties. They deliberately weaken your body, transforming you into slow, predictable, and easy prey. The inability to find food forces you to constantly take risks, venturing into open spaces where the Hyaenodon and Phorusrhacos already await you. The threats of the Paleogene work like gravity on an unstable object. Hunger and cold merely tilt you slightly. Psychological breakdown tilts you even further. The predator is just the final push, which would have been useless without the initial imbalance. We've understood how you would die. Now let's close the main loop. Why exactly was the age of mammals deadlier for us than the era of dinosaurs? The answer shatters the last illusion. In the Mesozoic, among tyrannosaurs, a human would have been such a small and alien element that they wouldn't have fit into any food chain. They would have been an anomaly, too insignificant for apex predators to even notice. A 75-kilogram human for a 6-ton tyrannosaur is a mere 1.2% of its mass, equivalent to a rat for a human. In the Paleogene, the situation is reversed. You are ideal prey. Your size, weight, and lack of natural defense make you a perfect target for predators that evolved hunting mammals of our caliber. For a 200-kilogram Hyaenodon, the same 75 kilograms represent 37% of its mass, a full meal. We considered ourselves heirs to this era. In reality, we would have been its main course. If we are so vulnerable, what then is our true strength? This thought experiment has proven, as a biological individual, humanity is one of the most vulnerable creatures. We lost the battle for survival in the Paleogene because we tried to play by foreign rules. Our victory in the evolutionary war is the ability not to adapt, but to change the world. Our true arsenal, inaccessible to an individual, controlled fire, deterring predators, complex projectile weapons, negating physical strength, and most importantly, society, which allows us to accumulate and transmit knowledge. Our strength is not within us, not in our muscles or instincts. It is outside, in what we build together. This experiment proves humans are strong not by themselves, but as part of a civilization. Outside of it, we are merely easy prey. When was the last time you felt completely safe? Do you realize how many invisible elements of civilization work to ensure this every second? This brings us to the final choice. On one side, the raw, indomitable physical strength of hyaenodons. A strength that allows dominance here and now, victory in any individual skirmish, but which is blind to the future and limited by its specialization. On the other side, the fragile, vulnerable collective intellect of humanity. A strength that is useless to an individual in the moment, but which is capable of analyzing, planning, and ultimately changing the rules of the game itself. What is the true engine of species dominance? Raw physical strength, allowing victory today, or fragile collective intellect capable of building tomorrow? Write just one word in the comments below this video, strength or intellect, and let's see which philosophy prevails.